Hi, good morning. This is Derek Wazinski. I am the Director of Sales for the Americas for Parallels, and under my purview is virtualization and the Parallels remote application server product that you're here to look at. We have running today our intro. We call this our intro webinar, and it will talk a little bit about virtualization, talk a little bit about some of the things that many IT organizations are facing right now, and how our products can go ahead, specifically Parallels RAS, can go ahead and help you out. This webinar is being recorded for your convenience, so you'll be able to access this. Also, for those of you that have been in a WebEx webinar before, there's a chat function that's available that you can provide questions as we go through the webinar, and we'll get these questions answered at the end of the webinar for you. If you have some super technical questions, we're lucky enough to have Jonathan Allen on the line here from Parallels, and Jonathan is one of our senior sales engineers, very well versed in Parallels remote application server, and someone who'll be able to talk in detail if you have specific feature or specific function related questions. But with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. And again, this is what we call an intro presentation, an intro into why you would take a look at Parallels remote application server, why you would take a look at virtualization in its own setup. Right now, for most organizations that are IT help desk driven or IT services driven, there's a challenge going on right now about how technology is directly affecting your end user community and what's important to your end user community. It's been reported that 92% of workers say that having the right technology helps them work efficiently and drives impacts to their job satisfaction. 85% of respondents, when they're asked, say they feel it's important for their employer to provide technology that enables them to work remotely. Now this was relatively, I wouldn't say easy, but it was relatively a little easier to do when everything was on-prem. Not only the servers and the IT personnel, but also the endpoints and the end users. And when they were all on-prem or on-premises in the same physical building, or maybe even the same physical campus location, it was relatively easy to draw a big circle around your IT organization with the type of desktops, with the type of laptops, with the type of devices, the type of applications that you'd be running, and then you could go ahead and secure that a great deal. And it was a lot easier to run an IT organization in those quote unquote olden days. I know, because I was an IT director and a chief information officer for most of the 1990s, and these are the type of networks and the type of IT organizations I was in charge of. However, something changed with the turn of the century is that we kind of busted out of this on-prem model and we busted into like a worldwide work from anywhere model. So now, as most IT organizations, whether you're even small to medium-sized businesses, you could literally have end users across the entire earth as far as the types of people that are going to be accessing the applications and the services that you provide within your IT organization. And not only that, they're going to be using a whole host of different endpoints and different devices in order to access that information. So the primary challenge now is how do you go ahead and provide, disparate end users with specific needs, different levels of access to your applications and to your data network, while still keeping it secure, and not having challenges with how someone accesses the network via an iPad or via a desktop or even via an HTML browser. Now, the reason this has really exploded, and one of the things that especially within the last 5 years, is what we call the mobile workforce reality. And the reality is out of the 160 million people in the United States alone that are working, about 102 to 105 million of them work remotely or work mobilely at least 1 or 2 days a week. Meaning that they have access to email, they have access to applications, maybe they have access to Salesforce on their phone. Whatever application, whatever function they're utilizing, The vast majority of the U.S. workforce, the U.S. knowledge workforce, they work remotely in some aspect or another. And this isn't going down. Global mobile workforce is expected to reach almost 2 billion workers by 2022. There are 10 billion mobile devices alone forecasted to be used by the end of the year this year. 10 billion mobile devices, with the vast majority of them at least tangentially connected to enterprise networks in some way or another. 92% of all business and not-for-profit organizations believe that only adopting adopting mobile apps or a mobile type of framework will give them a competitive edge. And 71% of mobile workers spend about 2 hours a week accessing company information on their mobile device. And this is really the big thing. When we have a knowledge workforce that is primary salary based and that has the ability to work from anywhere, your average mobile worker will work about 240 hours a year longer than the general population. Now, these are all realities as far as the way the mobile workforce is really affecting change within many of our IT organizations. Now, how are you supposed to do this? How are you supposed to figure out how to go ahead and provide this level of functionality? Well, you need to determine the right devices for your users. You need to create what we call a mobile endpoint strategy. You need to get the new technology. You need to manage the endpoint security. You need to support end users to take the burden off IT, and you need to manage and refresh the devices without any disruption. Now, this is the challenge that you're addressing in an IT organization. And many times, many IT organizations say, "Well, we don't support iOS, so we're not going to go ahead and utilize iPhones. You need to utilize an Android. Or we only support Windows Surface tablets, so you can't have a Mac or you can't have a Google Chromebook in order to run our applications." And the challenge with that is that with these borderless workers, the vast majority are relying on their personal mobile devices to access business apps, right? So one of the biggest challenges is whether you're a cloud-based infrastructure or on-prem, the future of your end user community is borderless and it's mobile. And it's already redefining like operational and engagement models for your organizations. And the future of your corporate IT is data, systems, and services that need to be accessed from anywhere, and you need to be able to provide that connectivity. And the challenge with that is, well, the novice would say, so what's the big deal? Let them bring, their own device to the organization, right? Well, the problem with that, as you know, is support, is structure, is how you go ahead and create an infrastructure that can support that level of diversity with between end user devices. Now let's take a look at the market share last year for Windows devices. This is enterprise devices across, this is North America. 70% of the devices out there in the world were Windows based. 21% were OS, and then we had a smattering of the remainder. So you might think, okay, well, if 70% of my end users are running Windows, that's really where I have to really spend my time. I have to spend my time managing that kind of process, that kind of end user capability, that kind of end user experience. And then I'll go ahead and just piecemeal the other stuff, how we're going to go ahead and support Macs or Chromebooks or something else like that. Well, there's a problem with that analogy. And the problem is if this was static, I could understand you having that conversation, but the trend is a downward trend. Just 10 years ago, 90% of enterprise desktops and devices were Windows based. And this is in large part because over 72% of the people coming into the workforce prefer Macs or other type of devices vis-a-vis PCs. And they don't have the ability in order to go ahead and provide you a level of information as far as how they want to go ahead and utilize those particular devices. And so the challenge is that you have a whole bunch of people out there that are looking to provide their their employer with the jobs that they're doing and with the work on the apps that they need to, but they want to choose or utilize their own devices. And they don't really care if AutoCAD doesn't work on a Mac. They don't really care if your ERP system doesn't work on a Chromebook. They want to use a device that makes them comfortable. And we actually live in a new world now with IT. In the old days, when I was managing IT departments, I could get by with my main metric, and my main metric is the speed in which I was closing help desk tickets. That was my main metric. And when someone said the printer doesn't work, and someone said this doesn't work, my app doesn't work, something's wrong, I can't access this, we would issue the ticket would go out, we'd close it, and with our help desk, and that would be the metric. And every month and every quarter and every year, I could see my team, how well they were performing against that particular metric. But that metric is an old metric that no longer, for many of us, really matter within our IT departments. Now it's all about customer satisfaction. Now it's all about, are we creating net promoters within our organizations? Are people detractors for IT? Are people, are they so bogged down with our IT processes? Are they creating shadow IT setups where they bypass network security or network ability or network access in order to get things done? Is there anybody promoting the activity of what IT is doing? And really, when you kind of merge these two together, there's this new thing that's kind of come out in the last couple of years in IT. It's called customer effort. And really what customer effort means, without the big math equation, is, does the IT department make it easier for you to do your job? Customer experience in the IT services area for IT organizations is more important now than it's ever been. And it's not just enough for IT organizations to provide a level of service that closes tickets. But the biggest problem is that now you have to worry about how they feel about the IT department. Do your customers appreciate you? Will they tell other end users to talk to the help desk to get their problem solved? These are big things going with many of our larger enterprise customers. Their IT departments are being measured by this. And when they're measuring by this, they're also managing by this. So this also means that compensation, bonus, educational, re-educational opportunities, all types of benefits, all tied to these customer experience and customer satisfaction scores that many IT organizations are getting. Now, we've known this for a long time because we know here at Parallels that for a large part, sysadmins were always, we're always ones to say, you know what, we have a network, we have it set up. These are our applications. These are the endpoints you can use. And then that's just it. You can't have a Mac. You can't have an Android. You can't have an iPad. And the problem is with that is that critically sets us up to answer this question in the negative. Does the IT department make it easier for you to do your job? If I'm a 27-year-old software developer and I've got my choice between 5 or 6 different jobs that I want, because with 2% unemployment out there, it is a job seeker's market. Am I going to choose the job with equal pay, with equal everything else like that forces me to use a Surface? Or am I going to go to the job that says you can use whatever you want? Whatever you need, whatever you feel comfortable with, we're just interested in your work product. And that's what kind of empowers the ability for IT organizations. Now, we know that you guys within IT, you're dealing with a lot of challenges and a lot of issues right now within your organizations. Mobile workforce management should be able to help you in all of these areas. And by providing this level of capability, you're going to do twofold. You're going to be able to provide your end users the custom user experience that they need in order to go ahead and maximize their outputs, but also you'll be able to go ahead and create an end user satisfaction KPI for yourself that will increase your effectiveness as an IT organization and provide you better scoring, which leads to better bonuses, larger budgets, and all of those types of things. So there's something going on right now within many organizations where they're being asked, are you considering a virtualization product? So virtualization, it's been around a long time. I mean, if you use the Google machine, you're going to see articles from the 90s and 2000s that talk about the power of virtualization. I'm not telling you probably anything you don't know about virtualization. And over the last 10 years, every year, anywhere from 18 to 20% of CIOs said, yeah, virtualization is important, and we got something on the bucket for 10, for next year or the year after. Well, then something happened last year. Something happened for the first time in the 10 years that Tech Target and a couple others had been doing this survey, is over 30% of CIOs, like a quantum leap, a almost doubling of the number of CIOs and IT directors said, yes, in 2020, we're going to be considering a virtualization product. And when the magazine Forbes kind of dug a little bit deeper, and they said in their study, insights from the global C-suite, they found out that the overwhelming majority of CIOs, about 77%, said they are now experiencing disruptive influence of quote unquote mobile technologies. Now, they understood that even though these technologies had been around for a long time, the most significant effect of these technologies are taking place within the next 3 to 5 years. And it's going to massively change the way they support, the way their whole entire infrastructure works with the power of these new virtualization products that are coming out. Virtualization is a mature solution, but it's also one that's been utilized on a very customized basis for custom or power users, and now the capability exists to push a virtualization framework across an entire enterprise or ecosystem to allow for maximum end user experience when you're dealing with a multitude of different end users. So what does that all mean in English? Well, what that means in English is everybody is taking a look at doing something either now or in the future with virtualization. And this is a state of the IT report that came from Spiceworks last year. And it says that while security does remain the #1 concern for most IT organizations, you see how the rest of these things are coming up. And when you start adding up the things that virtualization takes care of, you're really talking about a singular project that can cover, that can cross a lot of these T's or dot a lot of these I's. Because virtualization is not only a thing into itself, it also maximizes security. It also maximizes both the software and the hardware that you utilize. It has a cloud portion, obviously mobility. It enhances training and development. There's a multitude of different buckets that virtualization fits in here. So when you take a look at all of these projects and these important business practices that corporate IT is looking at, virtualization covers a lot of bases for you within these organizations. And it says that and right here it looks about 66% are looking at virtualization specifically to be extremely important to them in the future. So when you're taking a look at virtualization, and in the instance from a large aspect of what are the things that this project needs to do or accomplish that makes it important for me to move forward? Well, you take a look at it, and there's a couple different things. Virtualization can provide you an increased agility and better resource deployment. Well, what does that mean? Well, virtualization enables what's called, obviously you're going to know this, system provisioning, and it allows you to deploy solutions within minutes. You can clone existing VMs without hours of just installing junk as you normally would. The companies right now that have either full or partial virtual environments, the IT orgs already look back and they cringe at like how they used to have to fill out a purchase order waiting for a server to arrive, and then they unpack it and then they load it up. All that other stuff that they used to need to be able to do. No longer needed because they can better deploy the resources, and they provide a little more agility. But also greater operational efficiency. There's this old wives' tale or old husband's tale, as it were, that human beings only use 10% of their brain. It's obviously not true, but it's like that's like some common conventional wisdom that people know about. Well, when you take a look at servers and you take a look at hardware, actually within most IT organizations, it's true for on-prem or server-based hardware. where most servers in a physical environment are heavily underutilized, and you're really only using 5 to 15% of their total capacity. When you implement a virtual approach, the hardware utilization is increased because one single machine now holds multiple VMs, right? And so that's pretty, and what that leads to is higher availability, right? Because what you're able then to do is you're able to go ahead and increase the availability of your workloads by reducing planned downtime. So for system maintenance and patching, instead of one server, one application, you have, with underutilized resources, you have virtual resources that are dynamically applied. Now, this provides you a level of much stronger disaster recovery. It's one of the greatest benefits of a virtualized solution set, because backing up critical data is incredibly important, and it's done relatively quickly. And you can provide you to test the disaster recovery failover in real time. So the ability to go ahead and move into a disaster recovery mindset, if a server goes down, if a physical location goes down, a hurricane comes, there's a fire, whatever the case may be, your capability of keeping the business operational increases exponentially with a virtualized framework. Now this leads also to enhanced security. With anything that's virtualized, whether you're virtualizing an app, you're virtualizing a desktop, you're virtualizing a server, the data rests in the data center or the remote servers. It eliminates the loss of data on local machines. Because the data is centralized, it's going to be easier for you to detect and isolate threats or viruses that cause damage. Since also the virtual machine usually has no contact with the machine's operating system, there's little possibility of a program damaging other files and applications. I mean, what's the biggest issue with patch management? One of the biggest issues with patch management is when I push out a patch, I want to make sure it doesn't break X if I'm fixing Y. And that's why patches can take up to 90 days to get installed on a network enterprise after release. And in those 90 days, all of your systems are exploitable through that security hole for this OS patch or this app patch. Well, by providing you the ability to push out that patch via a virtualized desktop or virtualized app, it gives you much greater capabilities to make sure that whatever you're fixing with X doesn't nefariously hurt Y. Reduce energy consumption. Listen, when there's less servers, there's less things plugged into the wall. That's less energy. It's a smaller carbon footprint. Anybody that knows this is a highly, this is something that most modern businesses, modern corporations, whether you be SMB or publicly owned large enterprise, there's some level of greening that needs to be done with your organization. And usually there's some person or department that's responsible for it. And your capability to go ahead and add to that conversation, again, as an internal IT department, increases your total value to the organization. And when you virtualize, it gets you ready for what you want to do in the cloud. And what I mean by that is that when you look at it, virtualization is a technology, quote unquote, but the cloud is actually an environment. So if you already have a virtual infrastructure, you can literally create your own cloud by pooling your virtual resources together and orchestrating them using management and automation software. Literally, you could create a self-service portal for your users. And what does all this do to your end, to you as an IT organization? Well, it makes you a little bit of a hero to your end user. And why does it make you a hero? Because again, when we roll back to what the greatest benefit of a virtualized infrastructure is end user experience or end user satisfaction. Remember, end users that are able to work on any app from anywhere at any time on any device spend an extra 240 hours a week of work per year doing their work because they're able to access it mobilely. This can literally mean $5,000 to $10,000 of extra work for an employee through your organization. How about putting that in a spreadsheet for you for an ROI calculation, where you can go ahead and show, by instituting this virtualized capability, we're going to increase the level of work that our knowledge workers are doing by X%. And the talent that's coming up. I mean, you can't throw a rock without reading an article about millennials or an article about Gen Z. But let's be very clear. 70% of millennials, which, people now in their 30s, think that regular office attendance is unnecessary. I'm literally sitting here in my kitchen giving you this webinar, and my office is 20 miles away. And with the technologies that are capable, this is how people work. So that's what they expect. And then obviously it gives you finally a thumbs up for your own IT organization, because when IT departments responsible for BYOD or CYOD policy, the ones that allow their end users to work from anywhere, from any device at any time, they get massively great ratings from their end user communities by being able to provide that level of functionality. Now, where does Parallels fit all in this? Well, Parallels has been around for a couple of years. We're the first ones that came out with a really solid solution on running Windows on your Mac. That was our first virtualization product. So much so that up to present day, about 7 million people a day open up their Mac and they run Windows on it utilizing Parallels Desktop, either Parallels Desktop or Parallels Desktop for Business. But we're also a B2B company. Over 50,000 businesses worldwide are utilizing our other solutions that we have in regards to virtualization. And those are the ones that we're going to talk about right here. So primarily what we have here is we have our portfolio, and we're going to talk about remote application server, but our portfolio starts with Parallels Desktop, which is really the way most people who like to run Windows on a Mac or need to run a Windows application run Windows on their Mac. It's been around 11 years. It is best of class, and we are constantly winning awards for the features that we add on a yearly basis. Parallels Mac Management for Microsoft SCCM is a plugin that fits into Configuration Manager, which allows you to manage your Macs through your SCCM infrastructure. So again, it's one of these things that fits on top of your existing infrastructure. But really, the one we really want to talk about is Parallels Remote Application Server. This is our all-in-one remote application delivery and VDI solution. What it does in a nutshell, if this was an elevator and we were going up 10 floors and I only had 15 seconds to talk to you, what Parallels Remote Application Server allows you to do is to run any app, anywhere, anytime, on any device for 60% less than what you're paying for your current virtualization solution. That's it in a nutshell. And then the elevator doors would open, and either you'd be interested or not in demoing or taking a look at that. But that's really what we do with Parallels Remote Application Server. So how can our Parallel solutions meet what we call your customer experience objectives? Well, first off, we definitely increase employee satisfaction throughout the course of providing an increase in morale by enabling your end users, your remote workers, to access their apps from anywhere. They don't have to sit in a traditional office or have traditional business hours. We enable secure access to sensitive data from personal smartphones and tablets. This allows you to create a data policy that people can actually adhere to while utilizing whatever application and whatever endpoint that they want in order to do that. By providing people the ability to use any app, anywhere, anytime, you obviously engage and enable business mobility. It allows you to go ahead and leverage the benefits of the cloud, which then provides you a CapEx reduction, right? So this capital expenditures for servers and everything else reduces, so you can utilize those budget items for other projects within your IT organization. Maybe custom development, maybe other things that you want to do. Maybe you want to create your own cloud-based application. There's other things that you want to do. So the ability to go ahead and cut those budget items is important for you. And obviously meeting market demands, making sure that your business is ready to respond in real time to things. And this is kind of one of the ways that we can go ahead and help you with that. So what are some of the Parallels key benefits specifically for RAS? Well, what we call our superior user experience. And we've used the phrase user experience a lot in this intro demo, but it really is any device, anywhere. Our interface provides a seamless and intuitive access to digital workspaces on any device. Well, what does that mean? That means mobile parallels clients transform any virtual application into a fully fledged mobile app. This means your iOS and your Android users can utilize a app that was developed for Windows, and they can still function as a Windows app on those devices. But in addition to that, they are allowed to perform native gestures like swipe and zoom and tap to click while working on the go. So not only, let's say your ERP system, or maybe it's your medical record system, that's a Windows-based system. F12 key still means F12, and they can open up the keyboard on their iPhone and hit Control V and do whatever they need to in the app. But it also provides them the ability to do native mobile hand gestures within that. So that provides that level of, again, superior user experience. It works exactly like it does on the Windows desktop, but I'm also given added bonus because now I can expand, I can zoom, I can do other things that I normally would on my smartphone or on my tablet. We provide the ability to go ahead and enhance data security by, again, securing the data centrally and controlling and monitoring user access. This reduces the risk of data loss and malicious activity. You can prevent access to applications and data based on location, device, configurable client. We support FIPS 140-2 encryption and other multi-factor authentication. It's pretty easy. It's pretty agile. We can quickly adapt to your business need by scaling for your infrastructure. So by auto scaling the infrastructure on demand, we can mix and match different technologies. You can have Windows Server OS, hypervisors, and hyper-converged solutions, and you can central manage this for multi-cloud deployments as well. And speaking of deployments, it's pretty easy to deploy, configure, and maintain. RAS, Parallels RAS, streamlines the deployment and maintenance of both VDI and RDSH infrastructures by providing you a set of unique tools directly available from a central console. Configuration wizards, multi-tenancy management, auto provisioning, auto scaling, automation, and a whole lot of more that we can provide you that way. When you put all this together, what it really does is it reduces your total cost, quote unquote, your total cost of ownership, cost and complexity. You can streamline IT staff workloads and reduce overhead costs. It is the singular all-in-one, out-of-the-box solution, saving resources, reducing the hardware footprint, and lowering overhead costs. In addition to adding to your total cost or adding to your ROI by allowing your end users to work more hours and be more engaged within their jobs to provide more work product because they're able to work from anywhere. So when you kind of combine those two together, it really is a viable solution for you to look with that could literally not only pay for itself, but actually create a revenue stream within your organization that's trackable. So let's talk a little bit about the superior user experience. What are some of the things that we provide? Well, for superior user experience, we provide things like bidirectional audio. So you'll be able to both hear and speak within applications, regardless of the fact of whether they're virtualized or not. Things like native gestures we talked about, drag and drop, quick keypad, printing and scanning. Printing is a big thing, and having a flexible printer and scanning redirection will provide your users the ability to print and scan locally from their mobile devices or their web browser. So let's say you're a medical records company, Epic, you're using Epicor or some other type of EMR or some other type of system. Printing is a huge issue. Printing is a huge issue in your ERP systems, or your logistics systems. The capability to provide this level of printing and inbound scanning and provide it locally from a local device seamlessly through the RAS settings makes it very easy for people to utilize the applications. We also provide things access for not only ultra logins, but also single sign-on, that we provide you that level of capability. So one sign-on to run the whole thing. Enhancing data security. Obviously, we improve by centralizing data. It allows you to monitor and control and restrict data access. Finally, the policies that you've created to enforce compliance so people don't screw up your network are easily enforceable now because they can be pushed to any device. The policy that you've created within your ERP system and how people can utilize it, it's the same thing on the Windows device that it is in the browser, that it is on the iOS, that it is on the Android or the Chromebook. It's the same policy, and it allows the policy to be enforced without 18 different ways to Sunday and trying to configure out for different desktops. Obviously, we support your encryption protocols and providing you both MFA and smart card authentication. Agility provides you business continuity and high availability. Again, it's uninterrupted and continuous access with built-in load balancing. We're a one-stop solution for RDS and VDI. We allows you to manage RDS and VDI environments in the same infrastructure, which streamlines IT operations. Mix and match different OSs and technologies. It doesn't matter what the end user wants to use. Your main job is to make sure, A, that they can use what they want, and B, that they feel good about using it. And if you can accomplish those two things with that end user, you are maximizing customer experience, and you are maximizing their ability. You're going to maximize your KPI ratings when your organizations are measuring customer experience. It's multi-cloud ready. It allows you access to the cloud faster, scalable, and it's very reliable. We do support, obviously, Microsoft Azure, Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud, and more. We are hypervisor agnostic. What does that mean? VDI, Parallels RAS is a VDI hypervisor independent solution. It doesn't matter what you're utilizing, Hyper-V, VMware, ESXi, Nutanix, Scale, Azure hypervisor, whatever you're utilizing, we're agnostic to that. It's more important for us that you're able to utilize what you feel comfortable and you feel good with. It's easy to deploy, configure, and maintain. One of the biggest features is that we just, within the last release, we increased the level of capability for multi-tenancy. So Parallels RAS provides multi-tenancy support to organizations so you can monitor and manage multiple farms from just one pane of glass. Are you an educational organization that has different colleges, different parts of your university that you're managing, those different desktops, those different applications? Are you an IT organization for a global company and you have to deal with HR and sales and marketing, and they have different setups and different needs? You can now manage all of that through a single pane of glass. So you can create VMs for each individual user, ideal user profile, in order to go ahead and provide you that capability. And again, reducing complexity means reducing total cost of ownership. We have found many of our customers that are looking at upgrading to the next version of Citrix that's out right now, because much of the Citrix implementations are either coming end of life, or I know Citrix is really pushing people to the cloud to go ahead and get them to upgrade to that. Ripping and replacing Citrix with Parallels RAS is oftentimes easier than upgrading to the latest version of Citrix. And that's just not, marketing. We have references. We can actually have you talk to people that have actually done that specifically. And we do it all the time. And it's one of our biggest plays as far as from a sales organization when we talk to people that are integrated with Citrix right now, and they're forced with the fact of maybe upgrading and updating Citrix. We're the place to look, because not only are we 40-60% less, but we're also much easier. Most organizations can get us up and running in as little as 6 hours, as opposed to 6 days or 6 weeks when it comes to a Citrix migration from one version to another. One of the things that's important for you to realize when you look at Parallels RAS is there is no super user version. There is no version that you get the light version and then you get the advanced version. Parallels RAS, whether you have 15 licenses, 1,500 or 15,000, comes with these core capabilities. Every single organization that runs Parallels RAS has these core capabilities, this functionality. You don't pay extra for extra services or extra support. So you could load balance with 15 users. You can create granular permissions with 1,500. You can provide a multi-tenant architecture with 14, with 140 users. It for us, giving you the capability to utilize all the functions of the core application are more important than creating some type of licensing spectrum that we can go ahead and increase our revenue based upon what features or functions that you're utilizing. Out of the box, every single organization that utilizes Parallels RAS has access to 100% of our core capabilities. Many people believe that moving to Parallels RAS has helped them not only meet their expectations, but also exceed their end user experience expectations. And whether it be healthcare, whether it be education, many organizations really do believe that Parallels RAS will make it very easy for them to provide support to any device for both students, for clinicians, for end users, for those types of things. So what are kind of the takeaways here for this conversation? Parallels RAS provides a high performance, intuitive user experience on any device. We don't change the way your app works, whether it works in a browser, whether it works on an Android, whether it works on an iPhone. If it's a Windows app, the way it works in Windows, it's going to work the same way across the entire spectrum of end user devices. We provide you the ability to be more agile with a central architecture that supports both on-prem, hybrid, and public ecosystems. And then we reduce the risk of data loss and malicious activity, obviously by preventing unauthorized access. Now, what's the best way to really look at this? Well, two things. Tomorrow we have next week we have what's called a deep dive demo. And the deep dive demo is not a sales guy talking about the value proposition, but it's literally a sales engineer that deep dives into the application and shows you the bells and whistles and everything, how it works within Parallels RAS and how Parallels RAS works on that function. But however, also, if you're past the demo stage, if you're like, Derek, this sounds really good, I really want to engage in a proof of concept and see if this can work for our organization, you can engage us in a proof of concept and you can work with us. I will be sending an email after this webinar with invites to not only the deep dive, but also invites to talk about a proof of concept and what your requirements are and how you can not only trial it within your on-prem, but you also can go ahead and roll up a quick trial in Azure or Amazon or in AWS. So we can show you how that works. That's it. That's kind of like the insight that we're trying to provide as far as Parallels RAS and how we're able to utilize virtualization, infuse it with an idea of what customer experience should be for your end users, and really make an intriguing project for you as you move forward trying to provide this level of service to your organizations. With that, I'll go ahead and pause for questions to see if there's any questions. Okay, thank you so much. We look like someone is interested in a proof of concept that they would like to explore. We will definitely do that. So thank you for that. We'll go ahead and engage you offline to go ahead and start that conversation for a proof of concept for your organization. So we'll get that set up for you. Thank you so much for that question. Any other questions? Parallels, Parallels RAS has been a solution of ours. We are now currently on Parallels version RAS 17.1. So it's been this isn't something we've Johnny come lately to. This isn't something that we just, cooked up in the garage last year. We've had 17 different versions of Parallels RAS throughout the course of the last 7 or 8 or so years. And at version 17.1, with the functionality of multi-tenancy, with the functionality of cloud-based capabilities, pound for pound, well, it's not only us. IDC has recently reported that we are now Parallels RAS is now in almost a leader quadrant for people, for organizations within our within our market space. So we are growing by leaps and bounds with a number of end users that we're bringing on. But again, it really is the vast majority of customers that are coming to us and that are renewing with us are ones that were formerly utilizing Citrix or VMware. Their solution went end of life. They don't want to pay high end as far as for licensing or maintenance or these types of things. They don't necessarily want to move to the cloud. They want to keep things on-prem, and we're definitely a solution and a capability for that. How do the other products work together? Yes, so for your organization, you could literally have a parallel suite of services where you not only have Parallels RAS that is running your virtualized desktops and virtualized applications across all of your devices, but let's say you have a bunch of 150 Macs on your device or on your network. And you want to manage them under SCCM, you can install Parallels Mac management, and you can manage those Macs that you're pushing out the virtual desktops to underneath the SCCM umbrella. If you have power users that like developers or graphics artists that really need to see stuff within a fully functioning version of Windows locally on a desktop, you can run Parallels Desktop for Business on those devices and then manage all of that through PMM. So there really is a great kind of mix and match, whether they be power users, whether they be ancillary remote users that just access on a regular basis. We have a solution for that, and we have a function for that for you. Well, with that, thanks so much for your time. We'll be sending an email out to everybody thanking you for your time, inviting you to not only the deep dive demo, but also the proof of concept. And also, if you're interested in obtaining both a recording of this, and we also provide this deck an unbranded version because a lot of the data that we have there we know is sometimes valuable when you're making your internal budget presentations, and we don't need to we don't need to have send you something with parallels splattered all over it. So we have an unbranded version of this deck that we can go ahead and send to you, with all the footnotes and the for all the studies that we use and all the metrics that we use. So you can go ahead and insert those um, in your own presentations when you're trying to get budget approved for these types of projects. We know that's one of the biggest things is working with our customers to help them get budget for these types of projects. So hopefully we can help you with that however you need it. And with that, I will go ahead and say thank you so much for spending an hour with us today, talking about Parallels and what we can do help you with virtualization and customer experience. Have yourself a wonderful rest of the day, and you'll be shortly receiving an email from us thanking you for your time today. Take care and have a great day.